Okay, we're on Yud Test 19. Why did Mishnah said that they would put him into Beit Avtinos? Why? Because there they made the Ketores, and they had to teach him the special avoda when the Kohen Gadol went into the Kodesh Kodoshim. There was a special way that he had to bring the coals and put the Ketores on the coals there. It was machlokas between the Tzedukim and the Prushim how to do it. So they had to teach him the Prushim way. Amar of Papa. Shtei lishkos hayu lo lekohen gadol. Achas lishkas parhedin v'achas lishkas pesaftinas. In the Mishnah, we had been told that for the 7 days, the Kohen Gadol was housed in the Lishkas Parhedrin. But now we're told that he actually had two offices, Lishkas Parhedrin, Lishkas Pesaftinas. Achas Betzafon, Achas Bedaro. One was in the south, one was in the north. That means, one was in the south, one was in the north, on either side of the Beis HaMikdash. It's not. Sheish l'shachos hayu bazara. 3 offices. There were 6 offices in the Azara that opened it to the Azara. Shalosh b'tzafon v'shalosh b'darom. 3 in the south, 3 in the north, 3 in the south. Shebedarom. Let's see if we can follow this along. Okay, so but Lishkas HaMelach was here. Lishkas HaParva was here. Lishkas HaMadichin was here. What were these offices used for? Lishkas HaMelach sheshama yunoisni melech lakorban. Every korban was salted. Lishkas HaParva sheshama yumolchin oris kedoshim. The hides were tanned, and then of course they were given to Kohanim. Valgaga, on the roof of the Lishkas HaParva, when we say that the Kohen Gadol had multiple tvilos on Yom Kippur, on that mikveh was on the roof of the Lishkas Beis HaParva. And then the Lishkas HaMadichin, Sheshamayu Madichim Kreve Kodshin, the intestines, before they were placed up on the Mizbeach to be burned, they had to be cleaned of all the refuse. Umisham, from that office, Mesiba Odel Gag Beis HaParva, there was steps that went up, we said, to the roof of the Beis HaParva, where the Kohen Gadol would do the Tvilos on Yom Kippur. Shalosh B'tzafon. And then in the north, there were also 3. Lishkas HaEitz, Lishkas HaGoyla, and Lishkas HaGozis. Here was the Lishkas HaGozis. Here was the Lishkas Parhedrin. Here's the Lishkas HaGola, and here's the Beis HaMoiked. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Shachachti ma'isa mishameshes, that Lishkas HaEitz, he forgot what the function of that office was. However, Aber Shulai Lishkas Kohen Gadol Isach Reishtein, that the Kohen Gadol had his office, the Parhedrin, there behind both of them. The Gag Shlosh and Shaveh. The roof of these 3 places were the same. Lishkas HaGoyla, Shamaya Bora Gola, there was a water cistern that was used to draw water. The Gagal Nosolav, there was like a wheel that was used to draw water. Mishama speak in Ma'am L'chol Azara to clean floors of the Azara. Lishkas HaGozis, Shamaya Sanhedrin Shal Yisrael Yosheves V'danas HaKohanim. The Sanhedrin of 71 sat in that office. Its main function was to judge the Kohanim Were they the proper yichus? Did they have any mumim? Misha nimtza b'psul ayalov shchorim. Misatev shchorim yatzav alachlo. If the Sanhedrin paskin that they were not kosher because they had some kind of psul, they would wear black. Everybody would know that they were pasul. The shalonim sabab psul, a coin that was not pasul hayalovish levanim would wear white. Mitzatev levanim, and he cover his head with white. V'nichnas meshamish mechav kohanim would enter the Beis Hamikdash to serve with his brother Kohanim. And then Achas Bedorum, there was a gate in the south. This nan Shiva Sha'arim Ayu Bazora. 7 gates entered into the Azor. Shlosha B'Tzafim, 3 in the north. Ushlosha B'Dorum, Bechad B'Mizrach, and the main Shar Nikanor in the east. Shebedorum Shar Adlaka was the gate of the Adlaka. Sheni Lo Shar Korban. We'll see what all these. We'll see what all these gates were for. Shlishi Lo Shar Amayim and Shebemizrach Shar Nikanor, which the entrance gate in the east was Shar Nikanor. That's here. That's this main gate entering in. That's how they entered into the Beis Hamikdash. That's the Shar Nikanor. There were 2 offices on either side of that gate. Achas Benino v'achas B'Smolo. Achas Lishkas Pinchas Hamalabesh. That was where they would dress the Kohanim when they went in. V'achas Lishkas Oisei Chavitin. The Minchas Chavitin was made in that other office next to that gate. Shebet Sofon Shar Nitzots. It was called Shar Nitzots. It was a binyan achsandra. It was like a open gazebo, and a stair on top of it. And this was one of the places where there was like mamodos. There was like office, like the guards that stand in front of Buckingham Palace, lahavdil, to watch, right? Sham Kohanim shomim milmalo levim milmata. The Kohanim were on top, the Levim were on the bottom. V'shliftim imenu achel, and some were on the outer colonnade. Sheni lo shar korban. The other gate was the shar korban. And shlishi lo shar beis hamoikin. V'tanya chamish tvilos v'asar kiddushim tovel kohen gadol kadosh bo bayom. On Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol went into the mikveh 5 times and washed his hands and feet 10 times. The kulam b'kodesh al gag beis parva. All these tefillos were, like we said, on the roof of the beis parva. Chutz mizu sha'isa b'chol al gabi shar hamayim. This tefillah, the first tefillah was done on this shar hamayim. Uvitzad lishkaso, he had his own office next to this. But remember, we started off today saying that the Kohen Gadol had 2 offices, one in the north, one in the south. The lo yadanu ilishkas parhedrin betzofim, v'lishkes besavtinas badorim. We don't know whether parhedrin was in the north and the avtinas was in the south, or vice versa. O lishkas besavtinas betzofim, lishkas parhedrin badorim. However, mistabra, the Gemara is going to work through with logic the lishkas parhedrin bedorim avi, that the parhedrin lishka was in the south. My time. What was the Kohen Gadol's Seder Hayom? Magdim Kohen would wake up. Umeisach Israel would go to the bathroom. The Tovel, he'd go to the mikveh. The Ozil at Tzafon, the Gomer Chafina. The base of Tinas was in the Tzafon to learn the Chafina, the Ktoris Avoida. And then he would va'asil the base of Migdash. The Avad Avuda Kol Hayom. This is in the 7 days leading up to Yom Kippur. He would do avoid all day learning. Levai Panya Madiale. As it got evening, remember we learned that they would sprinkle him with paraduma. because to make sure that he's tor. V'hadar azul l'darim v'tovel v'nayich. Then he would go back to the south and be toivel next to where he sleeps and go to sleep. Now, why does it have to go this way? Because the Iyamet Lishkas Parhedrin B'tzofo, if the Lishkas Parhedrin where he slept was in the north, he'd end up walking too much. Because Magdim Koi, again, wakes up, Mesach Raglav goes to the bathroom, the Ozil Ador would have to go to the south, the Tovil would have to be Toivel there. And the Gomar Chafina, learn the Chafina. And then also the Beis HaMikdash Vav Avodah Kol Yoma. He would enter the Beis HaMikdash and do the Korbanos. Lahadi Panya, as it got evening, Madu Alei, they would sprinkle. And now he'd have to walk back. Hadar Ozil Ador, the Tovil, boy Mahadu, Mezel Tzof, and they come back to the north to sleep. He's walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Mitarch Matrachina, like Kulahai. And so the Gemara proves from there that it must be that the Lishkas Parhedrin was Bedoro. Afraid to Gemara Lama Lo. What's wrong with being Matriachin? Matrachin and Leitvei. We're going to make him exercise because the eat Stuki who, if he's at Stuki, we don't want him anyways. Let him get fed up with all this exercise and let him lifrosh and let him leave. Inami Shalot Hazor Daitolov. Or he shouldn't become haughty to say, oh, I'm the Kohen Gadol. No, so we keep him low. The Ilo Tema'achi, Navdinu L'Tavai Badi Adodi. Why didn't we build everything next to each other? Or Inami Tizkele Bechado. Or he could have had one office instead of two. Must be that they did it on purpose, to be Matriachim for the reasons we mentioned. V'amr lo Yishi Kohen Gadol. And they gave him a whole speech that you are Shliach. Now, the fact that they told him he's their shaliach, it sounds like it's a kasha on the sheet of Ravuna. You know, Kohanim, they're not our shliach, they're shluchei d'rachmananinu. They're our Kodesh Baruch Hu's shliach. Because if there are personal shlichim, the principle of shlichus is that whatever you can do, they can do. Well, you cannot do the avoda. How can they be your shaliach if you don't have the ability to go into the Beis HaMikdash and do the avoda? You're a Yisrael. So hachi kamrulei. So according to Rav Huna, what they would say to him, Ashbin anu alech al datenu ve'al das bezdin. You shouldn't be over the shvua because the bezdin is being mashbiya you. There's no raya from here regarding the shlichus. Then after they would warn him, you shouldn't be at Stuki. So who parashu boicha ve'ein portion bochim? They each cried. Who parashu boicha shechashdu Stuki? He cries because they suspected of Stuki. Ve'ein portion bochim. How come the Zakanim cry? Whoever suspects an innocent person will get a makkah in his body. Now, why did they warn him not to be at Stuki? The Stukim held that they would light up the Ktoires before they entered the Kodesh Kodoshim. And when they entered the Kodesh Kodoshim, it was already burning. That's not how the Kohanim were supposed to do it. It was at Stuki, it was a Kohen Gadol, and he did it the way that Stukim wanted. And B'Tziyaso has Samech Simcha Gedola. When he left Kodesh Kodosh, he was very happy. So he met up with his father, Amlo B'ni, Afal Pishit Stukim Manu. Even though we are at Stukim, we still have COVID and fear from the Prushim. What are you so happy? My whole life, I would be upset when I got to the pasuk Ki be'anon era'eh ala kaporas. With the cloud will I be seen by the cover of the Aron. They understood, that Stukim understood, it means they have to enter already with a cloud burning. And Omarti would say to himself, Mosa yavo liyodi v'kaimena. When will I ever get a chance to be the Kohen Gadol to fulfill this pasuk the way we learn it? So he did it like it's Stuki. The Gemara says, a few days later he died and was thrown in the garbage dump. Worms were coming out of his nose. It happened right when he left the Kodesh Kodashim. There was like a noise, like an angel that had come and he struck him. When they dragged him out, they found that there was like an imprint, a footprint of a calf between his shoulders, which is like the mark of the Malach HaMaves. Rav Zachariah ben Kvutel, that he testified, he used to read from Sefer Daniel because it was very interesting. Mostly Rav Chanan bar Rav Luchia Rav Kamei de Rav. Rav Zachariah ben Kvutel, that it's not Kvutel with a tet, it's Kvutel. It's not Kvutel with a bays, it's Kvutel with a pay. Umachvile Rav biyede Kvutel. Rav with his hand said, no, Kvutel. So freit the Gemara v'nemalei meimar. Rav didn't say it. He just told him, he gave him a signal with his hand that you spell it with a base. Freit the Gemara v'nemalei meimar. Why didn't Rav just say it? And for the Gemara Kriya Shema Vikari, he was learning Kriya Shema. Freit the Gemara, when you learn Kriya Shema, you're allowed to communicate through hand signals. I gave them Yisrael B'am Rav Yitzchak Bar Shmuel Bar Marta. HaKoire Eshma lo yirmos be'einav. You shouldn't give somebody a signal with his eyes. V'lo yikrotz b'svoisad. You shouldn't whisper. V'lo yored b'svoisad. You shouldn't point with a finger. V'tani Rav Elazar Chisma oimer HaKoire Eshma umramiz be'einav umakaris b'svoisad savar b'svoisad. Somebody reads Kriya Shema and does these things. Alav HaKosav oimer v'lo oisi karasa Yaakov. You're not going to be called a Jew. How could Rav do it? And for the Gemara loy kasha, have a perak rishon, have a perak sheni. Perak rishon and echanami. That's when you can't do it. Perak sheni, it's you could be mafsik without speaking, and that's what Rav did. Tana Rabbanan v'dibarta bam v'lo b'tfila. That means in learning Torah or during Kriya Shema, you could be mafsik if it's an important need, but you can't be mafsik during Shmona Esrei. B'dibarta bam yesh lecha reshus l'daber v'lo b'dvarim acherim. Learning Torah, you could be mafsik. Oh, you can talk about divrei Torah being mafsik, but you can't talk about other things. Rav Acha omer v'dibarta bam aseh oson keva v'al taseh oson aroi. Learning Torah should be something that you do every day, like a Daf Yomi. You learn every day. It's not here and there whenever I want to. On Rava, Hasach Sichas Chulin, somebody who just speaks things that are not Divrei Torah. Oiver Basei, you're Oiver a mitzvah saseh, never v'dibarta bam v'lo b'dvarim acherim. Person should be talking Torah all the time. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Omer Oiver b'lav. Not only are you mevatel a mitzvah saseh, you over a lav should never call advarim yigeim lo yuchal ish ledaber. Regular speech, dvarim betelim, person shouldn't speak. Mishnah. Bikesh lisnam name at night. If the Kohen Gadol was looking like he was falling asleep, Pirche Kahuna Makin Lefanav Be'ebat Sreita. They would use their middle finger and make some kind of noise with it, like maybe snapping their finger. V'omer lo ishi kohen gadol. Amad v'haveg achas laritzpa. They would say, stand up and stop sleeping. Umasikin also ad shegiz man hashchita. They would keep him up like this until the time came to shech the korban atami. Might sreida on Rav Yuna tzarta dedah. That means the third finger. Mahi gudol, the third finger. Metz Ravuna v'ozl kol b'kule be'rav. And he would go around making this kind of noise. Amrim lo ishi kohen gadol afeg achas laritzpa. It means stand on the floor, don't fall asleep. All right, Yitzchak al-Chados. Ask him to do something new. Mahi amrulei achli kida. Kida was a certain type of bowing down that was very complicated. It required athleticism, and they asked the Kohen Gadol to show us how he did it. It was like doing a calisthenic to keep him up. And they would keep him up like this until it was time to shech. Tana, they couldn't play musical instrument because it's yontiv. Elabapeh, they would sing. Umayu oimrim, im Hashem lo yivne bayis shav amlu boinav bo. They would quote psukim to. That's from a pasuk from Tehillim. Miakiri Yushalayim lo Yishem kolela. The elders of Yushalayim wouldn't sleep that night. Kidei sheyishma kohen gadol kol avaro. So people stayed up all night and learned. And there was a lot of noise of the learning of Torah to keep the Kohen Gadol awake. V'lote sheina chotafta, so he wouldn't fall asleep. Tanya Abashol Omer, af bigvuma yu oisin kein zeichel hamikdash. Even after the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, it used to be a minute to stay up and learn Torah. As a zeicher to this minute. The problem is, this became a social gathering event. They would declare, "Oh, we're learning all night." And people would come, I guess, and boys and girls would come, and it would lead to averis. Amar Abai B'Tei Rav Nachman Yitzchak Targuma Nardo. This happened in the city of Nardo, where there was too much socialization. Eliyahu Hanavi said to Rav Yehuda, Achmed Rav Salah Chasida, the brother of Rav Sila, Amritu, you ask, Amai lo asli Mashiach? How come Mashiach doesn't come? Yet v'ha'idna Yom Kippurihu. Tonight is Yom Kippur. The evil come up Sulta Benardon. There were a number of Basulos that had relations in Nardo because of this pritzus. What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu say in response to these sins? You know what? Man was created to sin, and unfortunately he falls into this trap of sinning. Okay. So, Mirz Hashem, we will learn, by the way, Harold will remember